Welcome, Gareth. Thanks for coming in again and for all that you're doing in the community, raising money, but also talking about what we do, because that's incredibly important, our why. This Suffolk Road property opened just over 6 years ago in May, and it is a place, it's our hub, so it's our hub for the work that we do in the community, so our clinical team are based here, but it is also an inpatient unit, and so right now we're in the room which we call the quiet room, and this is a really important quiet space for families, and often there are really important family meetings that are held here when patients come into the inpatient unit. So in the inpatient unit, it represents around 20% of our work. 80% of our work is in the community, supporting patients and supporting families to care for patients in their own homes. And most people want to be in their home when they have a life-limiting illness, and they can be around their family, their dogs, their cats, and be in their own space, and we support them to be there and wherever they call home. The inpatient unit is a 10-bed inpatient unit, manned 24/7, and it's a place that people will come to have a reset. So whether that's a physical reset, so pain management, or medicine kind of reset, but it could be emotional, social or spiritual. And so sometimes most often people will come into the inpatient unit and then go back into the home. Around almost 80% actually of our patients will come into Suffolk Road and then they'll go back home. And I think that's really the gift that this facility provides our community, is that opportunity for a reset and back into the home. And some people might do that more than once as well through their journey. So on average, we care for around 210 patients a month throughout our region. And on average, a patient and their family will receive our services for about 125 days. So our aim is to provide those patients and their families with holistic care. So that includes considering them from a physical, mental, social, emotional perspective. And so as a result, our team of clinicians is really broad. So we've got doctors, psychologists, social workers, nurses, healthcare assistants. So it's a broad physiotherapist. It's a really broad clinical response to caring for people. When a patient comes on our service, we will work with them in that kind of what we call an interdisciplinary perspective. So absolutely the medical piece, but also all the other important elements, supporting them and their family.
I don't think people will actually realise how many staff are actually associated with the hospice. So can you tell us a little bit about that? So
clinically, we've got around 55 staff. That is, it's a significant team of all of those different type of medical and allied health specialists. So not a small team.
No.
And because we care for patients for that length of time on average, we're in those people's lives and work with those families for a long time, and also at a really important time, and that's a blessing for us to be able to provide those services.
And you've obviously got volunteer workforce as well, so can you tell us a little bit about the volunteer workforce?
The volunteer part of hospice is one of the most special parts of it as well, because it really is about a compassionate community. So in this facility, we have volunteer gardeners that come in on a Monday and a Thursday, I think. It's all part of giving back, being part of a community. We have our community equipment, so every time a patient comes onto our service, as part of that going into the home and finding out what they need, is looking at specialist equipment we can provide to support them and to support their carers. And we have a group of community equipment volunteers who take the equipment into someone's home and install it and bring it back out and clean it. And again, another amazing group. And then we've got many volunteers in our retail stores as well, which are so vital to funding what is completely free services to our communities.
And what is the region that you are caring for? Because I don't think people realise that too much as well.
So We provide care from Rye Valley,
Yeah.
right through to Golden Bay and down to Murchison. And in those rural areas, we provide that care in conjunction with district nursing teams. And so from our perspective, it's about empowering them to support patients in their homes. They also may come into the inpatient unit if and when needed as well.
Yeah. There's a lot going on. There's a building to look after, there's stuff to look after, etc. from that nature. So obviously I've been involved because of supporting Ed with the 210 campaign, and that's when I got a bit of an understanding, and then I've had the privilege to come and have a tour of the facility and learn a little bit more. And once I fully realised that, I then realised how vital the service is for the community and how inwoven it is with the community, like you've mentioned, with volunteers and things of that nature. But obviously there's bills to pay. So could you tell us a little bit about the finance situation, and which is one of the reasons obviously I'm trying to raise as much money as I can for the hospice, but just exactly kind of like what your costs, etc. you're looking at.
So we receive funding from Health New Zealand, Whatu Ora, so that funds around 50% of our operations. So that gives us about a $4.5 million shortfall this financial year, which is around just under $12,500 a day. That shortfall will only increase because of the cost of providing healthcare, the ageing population that we have, and also just the complexity of care. One of the myths that people have about hospice is that we care for patients that have cancer diagnosis only, and of course we do, but 50% of our patients last year were non-malignant diagnosis. We as a team, our clinical team, have to be able to respond to all of those different illnesses. So I think there's an issue around increased cost of providing healthcare just in general, increase in ageing population, which will obviously increase the need for palliative care, and also increased complexity of illness. It's not going away, that shortfall.
No, it certainly isn't. And that's one of the things that when I'm obviously out and about and trying to speak to all the local businesses to try and get involved with obviously the campaign and just speaking to people in general, I put a target on of 150,000 and instantly people's just gone, oh, that's a lot.
Yes.
But then when I break down that's nothing at all. It's 12 days. That's basically all it will cover is 12 days. I think they get a little bit more of a realisation of what is actually needed, and like you said, it's not going to get any cheaper. It's going to keep having to go up, and there's going to be more costs involved and things along the lines from there.
And we're very blessed in this community. Hospice has been a service in some way or another since 1987, and so we've supported families through really tough times for a long time, and so as a community we are really blessed with the support that we get, whether that's through sponsorships or donations, or supporting our shops by donating goods or purchasing goods, and also bequests are a really important part of funding hospices, I think internationally probably. This whole building was made possible by a lot of support from the community, businesses, grants, etc. But one bequest from a gentleman called Daniel O'Brien really made it, the inpatient unit, possible for our community. And every time I walk into the inpatient unit, his name is above the wing, and I think of him and think of all the people that have been supported by someone who has made such a generous donation. So that was a $4.2 million bequest. The impact he makes every day is immeasurable.
And
but the ongoing cost of operating this facility is the issue for us.
100%. And I think that's the thing. It's when I'm speaking to people, there's always somebody who's got a connection with the hospice in some way, whether it's friends or family or something of that nature. So you can just see how vital and how important it is to the community and how much we need to support it as much as we possibly can. So obviously you mentioned there's a $4.5 million shortfall that you need to make up each year, and obviously that keeps growing year by year. So do you actually make that shortfall every year, or if you don't make that shortfall, what happens? Like, is there any ways of you getting extra funding, or how's that made up? Is it just from donations? Is it from the charity shops? Just give us a little bit more of a kind of understanding, because I think people just think that naturally every year you manage to make the shortfall, but I don't think some years you will and some years you won't.
So the issue we have is we just don't know. We operate 5 retail shops across the region, and they're very well supported by donors, which is fantastic, so people donating goods. And so half of our shortfall each year will be funded, we hope, by our retail operations, and we've got some control over that because we can use all the business levers that you do to make that happen. We have 5 shops that are all on commercial leases, so they're operated as for-purpose businesses with all the funds coming into the service. So that, give or take, will find about half of our funding shortfall. But we still need to find the 2.3 million, and that's made up of grants, it's made out of donations in memory of. Often people, when they have someone on the service, they'll make a donation in memory of. Supportive donors who really believe in the work that we're doing, and then in bequests, and that's really the mix. And then sponsorships as well, but predominantly it's in donations and bequests. And that's people realising how vital the work is, and often they may have had a family member in the service. But we're actually all in this together, and I think that's the really important thing. If you can make a difference, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah. So obviously you mentioned about grants and things with a shortfall, but I've obviously seen in the community there's events that take place like golf days and the more event thing, and obviously things like yourself, what I'm doing for Coast to Coast to try and obviously fundraise as well. So what kind of like, just explain kind of different levels of what people have done to fundraise and events that they've held just to try and support the hospice, and what other people can do as well, just to give them ideas. Some people might think, oh, I've got to do this huge thing, but I think even just the smallest things would obviously help.
And that's what is incredibly special, because we have some major events that really are crucial for us, like every 2 years Dancing for a Cause, and then we have the Summit Care Wilkinson Golf Tournament every year. We're really lucky to have some really great events, but we've also got people that, we've got this wonderful woman in Motueka that sells succulents at the market, and every now and again $1,000 will come into our account from her. We have, a woman that sells flower bouquets and then makes a donation per flower arrangement. There's so many different ways that people can get involved. Tasman Auto Electric, who sells batteries, and every battery a percentage comes back to hospice. There are so many ways that you can support us, but also support your own endeavours in terms of business as well. So we're just really open to people getting involved, putting their hand up, saying, that our work matters. And talking about death and dying isn't something that people want to do on the daily, but for people to see events like that, they also see hospice in another light. And for us, it is about making sure that people live well until they die.
What's the kind of like the age range of people that you see coming in that you obviously support? And you've mentioned also in regards to that people come in here, but I think there's a bit of a myth around the fact that people think that once you come here, that's it. You never leave the place. But you've obviously highlighted a little bit before about the fact that some people come in and then obviously they are able to go home and be in a natural and comfortable surrounding, etc. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So our age range of patients on our service last year was 17 to 102 years. So we care for patients of any age with life-limiting illnesses. And in terms of this place, that is really the gift, is that of course people will die here when they come into the inpatient unit, but the vast majority, almost 80%, will come in from home. They may come from hospital, they may come from an aged residential care facility. They'll come in here, have that intense specialist support, and then they'll go back home. And it's a reset, really. And I think the gift with that is obviously that is an opportunity for that reset. but also for the family to be together. And we really are all about holistically looking after patients and their families. And so people can come in here and have time together, memories together.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can have a wander through the garden and have a look at the space. But it's all very much part of what we do, is having that space to be able to be together. We have dogs come in to visit their family, and all of those things is really, really important.
Yeah. And there was mention about 1 in 3, so could you tell us a little bit about the 1 in 3?
So each year here at Nelson Tasman Hospice, we will care for 1 in 3 people that die in our community. So as a charity, we have a massive impact on the community that we care for. As a charity, we're a local charity too, and so we have a relationship with Hospice New Zealand, which is a advocacy organisation, but as a charity, where 100% of what we raise here stays here. So for our people.
Yeah. I believe that will probably be obviously some kind of support or something like that for the families after obviously that person's passed away. Is there some support network or something after that you provide?
So when someone would come in here and go back home, our care obviously continues at home as well. So that's important. And sometimes people will come more than once through their journey, and that's not uncommon sometimes. And then when a patient does die, our team will work with them depending on what they need from bereavement support. So whether that's clinical psychologist or a social worker, and that's working with could be a partner or children or grandchildren. That's really important, and that care will be depending on what they need or want, and it will be up to 13 months past death, and that really acknowledges that you then go through the first birthdays, those milestone really important times, and so that's how we work, and it's very much personalised to what that family needs.
We've talked about the care, we've talked about obviously funding and things like that, and obviously being part of the community and different fundraising events and things of that nature. Are there any other things that the hospice do within the community? Is the training, I don't know.
We have an education team, and so that acknowledges that with the massive growth and need for palliative care, that as the specialists in this region, we want to support others to be able to provide what we call general palliative care, and so that could be healthcare assistants or clinicians in aged residential care facilities. So we provide education support to those facilities. We provide community workshops as well. So we have a program called the Better Ending Project, and community can come into hospice and learn more about getting prepared for end of life. So that could be about advanced care planning, it could be a whole lot of different things. And from our perspective is the better prepared people are when they are well, the better it is for all concerned. So that's another project that we do.